Right. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was through one of the themes that I keep seeing and constantly keep seeing since January 2020 or 2021 when I first sort of started noticing this has been the endless stream of media articles that just mischaracterize the movement, call everyone racists and misogynists. There's been articles about how GameStop is over, the short squeeze is done. Forget GameStop, forget GameStop, forget GameStop. I don't know how many times I've seen that fucking headline.
Unreal.
Right? Like, do you think there's a genuinely coordinated media campaign against this stock?
Yes. One of the most genius things hedge funds as a whole have ever done was buy all the financial media companies so they can point any direction for something. I'm going to give you a round number right now, and I'm close, but I have no idea what the actual one is. But it's like 90% of the financial media companies out there are owned by hedge funds to be able to control the narrative. It's absolutely genius and totally manipulative, but they saw the opportunity when AOL came out and people are seeing news articles and stuff online a lot faster than just buying one magazine. And they went in and started buying them up.
Okay. I'm trying to get some figures here to see.
Trying to get some numbers.
Yeah, get
Yeah.
some numbers here. This is really interesting because I hadn't considered the extent to which they maybe own the media.
It's massive.
Yeah,
All
so
the little ones like the street and Motley Fool's, like just actual articles that aren't part of the company, like in the tiny wording at the bottom.
yeah.
Seeking Alpha, dude, they're all owned by them.
Yeah, Motley Fool is the best one, like by far. It's just
Oh
like
my god!
the or yeah, Seeking
Dump
Alpha,
this stock.
or who was the most infamous one? It was like February 2021. Citron Research. They were like, we're gonna do like the 5 reasons why GameStop is gonna go to zero.
Oh no, that was 2020. That was like when his computer froze and stuff like that, and everyone hacked into his YouTube live stream. And that was when it was like at $16 or $18. The next day it was at like 25, and just or maybe it was January, and it just lit up from there and just went up to 500 like right after that guy. He didn't talk for like a year. See if Chat GPT knows the number.
I mean, that was my next protocol, but then I was like, oh, it might be a bit out of date, but let's get the out of date figure. Um, Apparently, according to recent analysis, hedge funds or private equity firms now control half of US daily newspapers. That's not what we want, but that is also interesting.
That's insane because that's all news. So there's 50% of all news is what that's saying, right?
Yeah, that's
That's
wild, isn't it?
that's nuts. Now they can go politics. They can post the ones like that they have in their in their pockets to the articles here instead of articles for XYZ candidate.
Yeah, Alden Global Capital, for example, they bought for £630 million Tribune Publishing, which includes the New York Daily News, Chicago Tribune, Baltimore Sun, and others. Wow, that's a lot of major fucking papers. And then you don't even include like people like that. I was just looking at the Washington Post, like they're not talking about them here, but like that's they're owned by Bezos. No, he's not
Oh,
exactly going
I
to be.
know.
Yeah, he's not exactly going to be screaming for rigorous coverage of the financial press because probably many of these massive funds will have stakes in Amazon,
Yeah,
and if they tank, they'll start selling the stock off, and yeah, it's like the intertwined nature of it is so predatory. It's I never quite get over it. It's like
yeah. I hate it. I was such an optimist person before this happened. I'm looking to just grow people's money. And now everything I see, I'm just like, oh, what crime happened there behind the scenes? Whether it's like an earnings report movement or any stock or anything, I'm just like, all right, who wrote this article for their own benefit? It sucks. I hate thinking like that. I don't know how to switch my brain back.
mm,
Like, but there's just so much crime that's been discovered where it's just everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult. It's like, because once you see, it's like, okay, so they're lying consistently about this stock that I actually know about.
Hmm.
So what about all these other things that they're saying?
Yeah.
Are all of these just bullshit? Like all of them?
Yeah, they could put on all 15 of their news outlets that they have to go pro oil right before they know like a surplus is coming in or Biden's going to start pumping out the reserves again and liquidating to drop the price. So they can just get bag holders at the top to get out of their positions or vice versa. They can do it anywhere for their advantage. Like I said, genius
Yeah.
move by buying them all up and creating these campaigns. It's nuts.
Oh, all this, you can see the strings. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So to talk a little bit about then one of the biggest theories about how we might exit this system in some way, or how we might like get beyond it, right, has been the infinity pool DD, which was totally a joke and a meme until it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yep.
Sort of morphed into like the DRS campaign, and computer share. Now, I've spoken to some people who don't think that that's the way forwards, and I haven't quite understood yet. But I'm waiting on some responses about why that is. But to me, it looks like it looks like the mechanism by which it might be possible to expose the extent to which synthetic shares exist for this stock, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
possibly, get the ball rolling for further investigations.
Absolutely.
Do you think the DRS campaign that's a possibility? Like, do you think this is a good idea?
Yes. We used to have, I mean, every financial advisor has jokes about having to deal with computer share clients, like rolling in their shares from their great grandmas like 10 years ago. And how I used to just say computer share just want to use fax machines and typewriters and stuff at their company headquarters. And now it's like the tool to put investors' names on their shares, just like a certificate but digital, and to give GameStop that info on their quarterly earnings or whatever they really ask for it to have it all on their book. And the fact that a quarter of 75 million shares have been pulled out of the system has, I wouldn't say proven, but it has been proven wrong that the liquidity and the shares traded per day in the market has gone down significantly with the DRS campaign. I mean, the volume per day, last week we had like 3 of the top 10 lowest,
Yeah,
or 2 weeks
yeah,
ago, one of those two.
yeah. I
Like
was
it was
looking at
just
your
lighting up
Twitter
the chart
thread,
every
actually.
day. Yeah. And so it's proven to, well, it hasn't been proven wrong, to lower the volume in this stock. And then after the earnings, all the crime comes out again and it trades 50 million shares flat like this all day for the options makers theta game. Just crush the volatility of the stock, didn't move with 50 million shares traded. I mean, at the time it was like 25 times the volume of the week before when it was only trading 2 million shares a day. And the stock like just didn't even move doing that. Computer shares DRS, I can't find a way that it won't work without crime. Obviously, we know what the crime is every single day. But if there is no crime behind the scenes, then it should make sense to everyone that once the shares are gone, they choose their price. It's like real supply and demand, the way the market should function with these huge bid asks. The whole market maker structure where they're raking in billions to provide infinite liquidity, and now everyone can trade for free. It's so good. But I like take it back to the wide spreads. Everything trades like a cent away on the bid ask. But if it was a real market and someone's willing to sell their Apple share at 110 and the next buyer's at 100, there's a $10 spread. That it's a free market. Like that's a massive spread, but it's one of those two has to make a decision on it, on what they want to do. And at least it's like a real order, a real market between two parties.
Yeah, I mean, like, when is that a possibility? Like, do you think that because the whole time that I end up discussing these sorts of topics, and the whole way through this conversation, like I wonder to myself, like, is it actually possible to get to a place where we could have like a fair and free and open market in the way that, like, if there are buyers, there are buyers. If there are no sellers, there are no sellers. Like because it just seems like we have a market where that doesn't exist. Like at all. Like and it's really, really weird to like get your head around, right? That like the most of the buy and sell orders put on the exchange that like are processed on the exchanges are not between two parties, one of whom wants to buy a stock and one of whom wants to sell. Like there's a load of different intermediaries, whether that's like market makers, whether that's hedge funds, whether that's like high frequency trading like outfits. It's so strange that that's how we've arrived at. Like, is there a way to get back from that, do you think?
Yes, but you're gonna have to take everyone down at the top. And you have to convince everyone making billions of dollars with this scheme to not like money anymore. You have to convince 150 insider traders in Congress, like, hey, you guys need to stop liking money. We're gonna do what's right. Like, how is it gonna happen? Like, you have to convince all the people that make up the rules and run the country to not like money anymore and to do the right thing. I don't know how it happens. The one theory I did or I explained pretty in depth on an AMA I did was another country is going to have to call us out on it. And once that happens, it's going to be anarchy for the US market. Like, we need the EU, China, Russia, be like, your market's completely fake and all synthetic. Boom. Then they're going to be like, oh, well, all right, guys, we're going to start looking into it and finding out who we're going to throw under the bus for all this stuff. And I think that's realistically because of how many people are making money off this at the top. That's the only way it's going to happen.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for making it right the way to the end of the podcast. I love that you tuned in this long. Do me a favor, hit subscribe, because 80% of you bastards are not subscribing, but you're watching my videos. See you next time.